Hello and welcome back. We are continuing our Austria run where we only have one lonely construction sector and we're trying to figure out how to make the best of it. To that end, we had last episode expanded quite a little bit our foreign queue, our investment rights, and also we are going for a sort of spheres of diplomacy type of play, which actually kind of plays quite nicely. We are finding with the Austrian aristocracy, the extra prestige really helps out a lot for getting the new interaction, the new diplomatic interaction of request embassy, power block embassy. Unfortunately, we do not have that active, so it's a little bit hard for us to get these embassies, which is mainly maybe a reason to try and lean more into passing stuff that these guys like, just to try and get their approval. It's been a little bit difficult to try and get approval, but things are overall starting to pick up this episode, or since last episode. The two things that we are mainly tracking is not really this budget and not really this GDP. Our GDP, since a lot of our ownership will be foreign owned, because we are trying to utilize our investment pool by way of buying buildings in our subjects, and we are trying to have a bunch of subjects. We have 24 members in our power block. Almost all of them are our subjects. They all get base 10 construction, and then our investment pool, when they build something, is eligible to buy that. So this is kind of how we're playing, and so the two metrics we are tracking is we are tracking when we're going to look at the total value of our block. We are, of course, the Habsburg Qin Empire, which has 47 million here at start, or 47.5, and the other metric we will be kind of tracking in order to see how much ownership we have of other buildings, foreign buildings, overall, is going to be, we're going to be looking at the financial districts, and at the start here we have about 180 financial districts. These are the two metrics. They don't really inform GDP, because if we own stuff that's overseas, like if we take a look at Austria's building, we see all these arrows, they're all pointing away from Austria. All these overseas buildings do not really count towards our GDP, and so tracking total ownership is a little bit more of a metric of success. We also rivaled GB last episode, so expecting to have to fight them a lot, but in rewards we get more Diplo, so we can try and expand the juicy block, and with it try and get more investment rights agreements in order to try and leverage the 10 construction off of, small powers like Parma giving us 10 construction over here. So we get what I think is actually our first mass migration. We put in greener grass kind of towards the end of last episode. Hadn't gotten a mass migration yet, but I think we want to build up Austria itself nice and good. And one of the big reasons we haven't put in a mass migration is because we actually don't want that many immigrants. We aren't really depeasanting very quickly at all without much construction, and so it doesn't really make sense to go for this, although when discriminated labor comes in, or slightly discriminated labor comes in, this is going to be in some sense good for us, because this is going to drive down the average price of labor kind of in the region. I'm not exactly sure if that's going to be worth it, and the bigger thing we are more concerned about is the increased cost of bureaucracy, because we have to pay more bureaucracy as population rises, which is one of the reasons we have very intentionally stayed on migration controls. Everyone who is coming to our country, at the very least, isn't going to cause too much turmoil, although the turmoil-causing pops do get to be employed for less. It's something that is definitely changed a bit this patch, and it is a bit interesting. Migration's changed a bit, as it seems that multiculturalism is no longer necessary, but we're still going to eventually go multiculturalism, which will unfortunately open up the borders completely. Maybe we even go for something like closed borders to prevent this from working out. And the reason we will go multiculturalism eventually is because one of the reasons we can't pull people into our power block is because they're discriminated against in the power block. So if we look at the leverage generation here, you can see that minus 123 primary culture with low acceptance. So if we changed that, we would be able to do stuff like pull Egypt into the block much easier, which is definitely something we want to be doing. And so for now, it's going to save us on bureaucracy, because again, we only have 15 construction. We only control half of that construction, and so any ability to increase government administration is going to be very slow. You can see that we're also keeping relatively light on the institutions. I think we're going to cancel this one and instead just increase education to level 2, but this will be kind of, I think, all we can afford for the most part. We might even get rid of law enforcement or something to this effect, just so that we can recoup some of this bureaucracy cost. Some of the bureaucracy, or a lot of the bureaucracy, is supporting our trade routes, and the entire point of the trade routes is that we do want to increase our influence and because we have the influential trade centers. But to be honest, we might not be able to, without being able to build way more dockyards, maybe external trade is not the principle for us. Still got to think about this a little bit more. So the UK goes for a decently sized play against us, and we opt for war goals that will be relatively easy for us to enforce of conquer Kenya. We do want to play the colonization game, especially because we've never found a single opportunity ever at any point in a run where, being able to go for colonial guys actually feels good. Being able to go for any sort of established colonial administration. This is a run where colonial administration actually makes sense, and this is exciting, so we should try and get on that, and to that end, blocking the UK out of Kenya seems fairly reasonable, and we didn't want war reparations to go in because we don't have a way of enforcing war reparations. UK has not incorporated the Falkland Islands, and so it's going to be pretty difficult for us to enforce there, but it's going to be relatively easy for us to enforce over here, just by pushing things forward. We're going to add a couple extra generals here. Von Habsburg Lothringen, sure, you can join up, and he will be able to push over here. We do have a stable front here, relatively stable, and then we're doing a landing over here, and we don't seem to be opposed, but here's where the damage is going to come. I think we have to move an army back in some way, so we'll move these guys back. We might disband them to teleport them back, but we do want to push out here, so maybe we wait and see just how many troops that they're bringing to bear. We do have a 20 stack defending here, but this is probably not going to be sufficient in the face of 2 landings. We are having to move and shake quite a bit in this war. We've gotten forced down to minus 41, but the main reason for that is we thought that we just needed to defend the home territories, but then taking a closer look at these war goals, we can get these they can get these war goals in if they just occupy all of them, which is what they've done. So we're going to try and dig in our heels in Oman and look to re-land Kenya. That way we can enforce them below 0. This is the idea. We see that their navy is coming in, and we are prepared to engage them. Now they are going to have 3 admirals, so hopefully our boyo with just 1 admiral will be able to defeat them with this army, while we have another 20 stack heading on over to defend against the landing, which will free up this 10 stack, which will defend if need be to go land Kenya. Back in the brother, what's that? So this is a bit unfortunate. They will have to take the capital if they want to get the whole shebang, the whole shaboodle, as it were. So what we're going to do, and we had 1 army just sitting here. I thought we assigned this guy, okay, we'll assign some guys to the front, just look to hold out. They are going to send a whole bunch of dudes, but as long as we continue to control Oman, they won't be able to enforce on us, so we'll just stay put here for now, at least. We will not provide you with military assistance. You're already fully occupied, my guy. The truth hurts. But hopefully we can make this war go away. We are at a pretty significant disadvantage, and we can't let them put... Alas, poor Yorick, we knew him well, Horatio. This is another strategic region down there, and the AI cleverly lands where we do not have our 50 stack, which is a bit unfortunate. So it looks like we are about to get the enforcement about as close as possible to defeat here. We probably should have mobilized conscripts a little bit earlier, but as things started to look grim in the mainland, we did bring them on up. They are about to land over here. I think they are making progress, but they don't control it yet, which means they're pretty okay giving us the bag, because from their perspective, they don't control all the war goals. We control all the war goals, and they're like, hey, bud, the writing's on the wall. We're seeing that we're decaying down. You're not decaying down. You know what? We'll throw in the towel. We'll give you Canutia. We'll liberate you way. You won this one, Austria. You won this one, Austria. Fair and square. And you know what? By fair and square, I mean we have 0 economy, and we are hurting. Our soul is hurting. Look at their GDP. Their GDP is doing fine, except for when India broke free. But look at us. Look at our GDP. To be fair, it's coming up. It's coming up. With Kenya in tow, this will be pretty good for us. We're not going to incorporate it or do anything like that, and we are going to be very, very sad because this is not going to employ up very easily, but now we'll probably side against UK in every native uprising here and look to really, really punish them. And then also, 5 years down the line, we'll probably take a little bit of a chomp out of UA for getting back our, our former treaty port on Great Qing, so that'll be good. It's just 2 treaty ports here, so we'll just go for one. It doesn't really matter which one. Maybe it matters a little bit. One of these states has got to be better than the other one, but the margin's probably pretty short on that, or small on that. I guess one of those has iron. We'll probably go for the iron one. So we got a lobby demand a little while back to declare rivalry on the USA, and taking a look, we've been having some trouble maintaining on the aristocracy the Wiener Valser 30 prestige, which we really, really would like to have. There's not a lot of sources of prestige percentage bonus. Our prestige is stuck at 406, and if we increase the prestige a lot, this is going to help us to have a lot more cohesion, which in turn will help with downstream effects. We're saving up the mandate. We decided that we're probably going to roll up to 3 mandate before we do anything, and so we decided to rival the USA, even though this is not normally how we like to play. This also frees up more diplomatic points, and as the lobby demand gets satisfied, it's going to make the Austrian aristocracy much happier, because this anti-American association's much better serviced at this point in time. And so we're probably going to have to lean into anti-association if we want to maintain the bonus. We've really kind of struggled to maintain this aristocracy bonus, but we were at like some 400-ish prestige before, and if we take a look here, now we're up to 529, which is going to further increase this. Now our cohesion target is 53 instead, which is going to allow us to do block interactions much better, and is going to help us to pull people into the block. So we are playing a little bit of this Diplo game. It also gives us more money to work with, or not more money, more Diplo juice, the only money we have, because we don't have a functioning economy. And so we will be able to do stuff to generate a bit more approval in these countries and go for these countries. We're not going to form South Germany or do any of this nonsense, because what we would do is we'd just turn around and release, and we'd rather keep our name as Austria rather than the South German Federation. So we're going to look to incorporate these guys into the bloc the old-fashioned way, into the Great Qin Empire. We did lose Bremen because they got subjugated, and I didn't really look like it was something that was worth going for. I think at this point, if we had enough cohesion, we could subjugate Bavaria here, but I don't even know if that's better, because Bavaria has actually been building quite a bit in our country over the course of time, and so I think it's better to keep it as is. We are continuing to add here. Hopefully we can add a little bit more. Maybe we get rid of this investment agreement with the French Republic. I'm not really entirely sure it's worth the influence here. We are hoping that they would end up building more in our country than they have. They really haven't invested very much at all. So this is coming to a bit of a head here. We are still not sure exactly how to engage with the new reactionary movements or movements in general, but this has kind of snuck up on us pretty strongly, because we're trying to pass a couple laws. In particular, we're trying to pass no migration controls here, and it is looking like it is going to trend towards a revolution here. It is creating a ton of radicals just every tick. This seems like a pretty substantive number. We could see the radicalism is creeping up at a pretty strong pace, even given our medium taxes, because we're not high taxes yet. We're already suppressing these guys. But I think that the agitator maybe is a big part of why these guys came around initially. And I'm not sure, but I think even if we exile him, these guys will still be around. The movement will still remain some strength, I believe. But hopefully this will bring them down just a little bit. But also to the end of being able to do stuff, we are going to invite another agitator here and experiment with how this works. We want to invite someone who is going to start a labor movement, because I think that the labor movement is going to allow us to pass a lot of laws that we like, as well as get in the trade unionists, hopefully both happy and relatively powerful. And so what we will do is we will pick this guy who we looked at before, mainly because he has the extra character health, so he will be able to continue agitating, and this will create a new movement, the labor movement. They support stuff like graduated taxation, which we are fine with. We would be kind of fine with old age pension. In reality, we just kind of don't want to have any social security because this is it costs us a lot of bureaucracy to do anything, but overall they are pretty happy with kind of what we got going on, and so maybe we can use them to get onto graduated taxation, something like this. But also we're hoping to give our pops a little bit of an outlet by increasing the power of this movement as well, which we think is relatively good for us. We are hoping to dilute this, so we'll see how exactly all this shakes out, but hopefully we can avoid this and pass. It looks like we're decreasing the amount that's supported, but the problem, they already have too much activism, so this might spell like disaster for us. The only reason we're passing this is because it was a request from our trade or our industrialists, this law, no migration controls. We're not super keen on no migration controls, so we might just cancel it if it looks like the rev's gonna pop anyway. So it looks like this movement isn't anywhere near as spooky as it was before. I don't know if it reset and restarted, but I'm thinking that the amount of support here, you can see the support fell off very, very strongly. I think that might have been when we exiled the agitator, and now it's trending downward in general, and it looks like they only want to take these two provinces with us, so maybe we could risk actually letting this war pop. The only significant risk of this is a coastal state is being taken, and UK is very likely to side against us in these sorts of matters, is kind of the main one, and I'm almost positive that they have an interest in the Italian strategic region, and so this part is really, really scary. We might just risky to get the bisky, though. We let the movement go. They spark a little small, tiny little rev, which is very reasonable, I think. And now the only thing we have left to be terrified about is how many government buildings that we spent our hard-earned 7.5 construction are they going to delete? I think we saw them delete one government administration. That's a several hundred construction we'll never get back. And so our only hope is that we are able to put whatever this is down in time. Oh, no! Oh, no, not the naval bases. Please stop. Make it stop. Don't do it to it. No! That's so long. That's like a year. This is the worst revolution ever. Oh my god. So here is an interesting bit that we had not anticipated. Another rev. And now revs can take your capital, so there's no saving your capital. And look, that shining city on the hill, which has years and years of construction sunk into the universities. This is painful. It does have a pressured interest group here, and so what we're hoping is that if we pass something the PB likes, that they'll maybe leave us alone. We just say stranger danger, and we try and pass something that they like. It looks like they would like proportional taxation quite a bit here. The aristocracy is not going to like it, so this is going to kick our prestige down quite a bit, which is going to be unfortunate, but I think we want to get onto proportional at some point anyways, so this will be fine enough. Also, during that period of time where we had that huge boosted prestige, look at all we managed to get done here in regards to now getting a bunch of construction agreements. Now, to be fair, they're not currently constructing in our country, this sort of thing, but I do think we are coming up quite a bit in terms of, let's do that. Let's swap that over. But if we look at the building registry and then we look at located abroad and we do owned by Austrian pops, we will see that increasingly we are starting to own quite a bit of buildings, all over the place, and that these are going to be quite useful for us, and we are able to buy and snap up these buildings utilizing our investment pool. Now, our investment pool, we still can't drain it as fast as we would like, but it looks like it's actually on a negative trajectory here, so we're still able to make use of it by having so many of these investment agreements, and we're not getting all the value of the building, because if we just take a look at Fez, take a look at this, for example, the value from this building that we're getting is in the weekly balance. The wages we aren't effectively getting, but to be fair, most of the value of the building is in the weekly balance. The wages effectively get paid out to the local economy. This comes and gets paid out over in our capital, or likely in our capital is almost certainly where we do have these level here, because we have the financial districts, and you can see they own buildings all over the place, and so we are starting to, this is the great source of our come up, is we are getting this, and this in turn actually makes some of these buildings a little bit profitable, because it is helping to push up the prices of these things. Even though we have an economy where almost everyone is peasants, there is a select few, a capitalist class that owns buildings, but they own them almost entirely overseas. Another aspect of open borders that I think might be good in the long term, no migration controls, is it might help us to get off of national supremacy and onto multiculturalism. We want to get on multiculturalism so that we can sway other people to get into our group, and maybe we didn't prioritize this strongly enough. We're starting to prioritize it with tech. We are doing the kind of ahead of time trick, where we are going to research several techs ahead of time, up to maybe around 14k, 15k, something like this, and then we're going to swap to a different one. We've already set up philosophical pragmatism. Never researched this super early before, but we would like bureaucracy, population cost modifier, and 10% influence, so we can make some more moves, because, okay, we could research something that helps with our production methods, but we don't have a lot of buildings, so this is a strangeness. I've never prioritized this tech at any point in time before this run. So we're up to 3 mandate, and I think we're going to make a bit of a move that we've not made before. Is I think we're going to go Sacred Civics 1, with the idea that we will maybe be able to get some more diplomatic agreements, and we can push the decision for which level 3 one of these that we want. I'm thinking it's kind of between market unification or even transport infrastructure. Transport infrastructure allowing us to do more land-based trade and give us more convoys so that we can use them to get more diplo. I'm thinking that this is actually going to be good for what we're doing, but this, at least temporarily, will hopefully allow us to get more investment agreements. So we could see mutual investment agreements. Lucca does share a religion with us, and so this, for example, is going to be, we're getting plus 20 from the Sacred Civics principle. We are only at plus 10, so it is because of this that we are able to get another investment agreement here with Lucca. And you can see, okay, they're not constructing very much in our country, and that's unfortunate, but we are, again, starting to actually drain the investment pool, which means that after we go prop tax, maybe, which, to be fair, the prop tax is supposed to stop this movement from popping off, although to be fair, it looks like it reset the movement when the PB left, and it's just these guys revving, which this is much more manageable than the capital revving. We just can't afford to have the capital rev, but these movements seem a lot more sticky and interesting. They are pressuring, maybe pressuring the PB is the thing, but you can see that they are going to give stall chance towards these, increased success chance towards these, and it's interesting how this is pressuring us to go back to migration controls. We are hoping to kind of open up a little bit, and if our investment pool is draining, we might go laissez-faire here, because I didn't think we'd be able to get it to start draining, but it's draining, so yeah, that's incredible. Poor Great Britain can't occupy the native movement and is going to lose. What are they going to lose? They're going to lose British Lindy, but they're going to continue to not be able to colonize here very well at all. And also, very nice is our two, you know, I want to say Mummy and Daddy are fighting, but these are our two nemesis are fighting, which is actually spectacular for us, and maybe gives us a little bit of an opportunity to have a little bit of free reign, maybe rectify some things. Oh, these borders are so sad. So we try and pass laissez-faire because We want that free juice. We want that company, and our investment pool was draining, but it's not draining anymore, and it looks like it's going to give us a movement if we continue to pass this. It is pretty nice that we are getting this because these guys are happy because they're market liberal, so we're probably going to continue to pass it just until it's below 100, but then we're just going to stop trying to pass this entirely, and it's not that big a deal because this rev we cannot handle. We will just cry so hard if this rev pops, because we will lose all of our subjects. Will get super pissed at us because they will lose market access, and we will lose our entire navy if this war pops, and that's not it, you know. Different day, different shirt here, but we've been thinking about this run, and we've been looking at kind of what's been going on, and this play has given me pause here. And the reason is we can sway in to become subject, and this would put us in a bit of a fight with Russia. As it stands currently, it seems to be the case that we are getting weaker and weaker relative to the AI. And we probably could have become stronger, you know, relative to the AI by just conquering a whole bunch and doing some sort of high infamy resetting thing. Like, the strategy we're executing is not the absolute strongest strategy possible, I think, for going like low construction. We're just trying to abuse mechanics that allow us to use other people's construction to give us buildings here. But I think we're in worse shape for fighting Russia mano y mano, or great power y great power, than we were before. And if we wanted to side in with them, we would probably want to start our own war, but the problem is man oh man, we are using all of our Diplo to try and make moves to try and like get a bunch of this foreign Q going, which, to be fair, we have some stuff going on. But Russia has a whole bunch of defensive pacts, Mexico and Spain notably, and so while if we wanted to fight Russia, we would kind of want to declare our own war so we could get effectively double dip. I'm really not sure if we could win a war where we go for Russia stuff, because look at all these flags. That's a lot of flags. That's too many flags. But man, just like looking at this play is just super depressing. Because I think that we've been trying to work over Bulgaria for a while now. We want them to become our subject. And at the same time, I think we kind of probably lose this. I think we're going to try. But these wars are getting progressively harder. And we cannot ramp up the size of our military. We have been the entire game building basically only government buildings with a couple of exceptions, largely trying to expand the military and try and keep up in this type of stuff, and it's just not been it. So we decided to throw big or go home here. I think this is bad. I think this is not what we want to do, but we have started our own play against Russia, and we'll either balkanize Russia or we'll get slapped in the face. You know, a lot of these war goals really would hurt a lot on us, so we're hoping that we can find a way to do this through a combination of having a whole bunch of conscripts, much more than Russia will, because we've put down 5 conscription decrees. We do have to keep some of our economy going. You can see that we're running a big negative, and normally running a big negative into, you know, kind of military spending isn't all that bad, but for us it's really, really bad, because we have to keep in mind we can't ramp back our spending on construction goods. This is not something that we have, and we really don't want to delete buildings because it takes us forever to build them. So we're really inflexible in terms of being able to acquire more money, other than being able to press these kinds of buttons, which are going to cause a lot of radicals. And also, we can't like add more of these taxes. Actually, we could probably... So we have a lot of decrees we could rake back and try and figure something else out, but I mean, honestly, this might just be it. This is going to be either we completely change the face of, you know, kind of Eastern Europe here, or we get slapped in the face. And so this is what we're going for. We do have another war here where we're putting in our own war goals. Interestingly enough, they decided not to defend this front, so maybe we could get a decent, reasonable kind of push off. We're only defending over here. We do have these guys kind of poised and ready to conscript up if need be in order to defend the coast, although that's really not a lot for the coast. We will try and get a landing in straight away, and we have this against what looks to be Spain joined against us, and also the Baltic governance, but not the whole shebang. We have one more liberate subject that we could do. We're just waiting on getting an interest in some of these. I think we're going to look to release the Baltic governance, something like this. It's either going to be, or we can liberate something like Lithuania. One of these guys kind of over in the eastern portion. I think I like liberate Lithuania, to be honest. We are taking care to not put any war goals in on Spain, because if we put anything in on España, what's going to happen is we are just going to be in bad shape. I think we could take another state up here. What's this one? Ostrsk. And I think we will go for this as well. Okay, maybe I was just scared because we feel so weak, and to be fair, we are so weak, but we're still starting as Austria, and maybe we have enough with kind of the various cheeses that you normally do. We are landing up here. We are getting a strong push over here. We do have a couple of different units. We also have Japan helping us over on this front, but yikes, it looks like I guess they're just disappearing and not actually assigning to that front. If they manage to get to the front, we will be in kind of a little bit of rough shape, but we also have a very high chance of spaghettiing their front completely because we have rail transport and we're using rapid advance. We do get in up here, which is a little bit surprising, but what's going to happen here is we are almost certainly going to get pushed out, but we're just going to keep pulling. Nice stacks there, bro. We got a pair of them. We're going to keep pulling stacks off of the important front by doing this repeatedly. It looks like Scandinavia bricks Finland over there, and it looks like we have a pretty strong advantage here. We currently only have one guy advancing who's got offensive planner and can pillage, but we're going to set everyone to advance here now that they've kind of very strongly pulled off that front, and they're pulling off in order to come over here. We only have 15 units over here. We have 10 units over here. So a little bit of mismanagement, and maybe I was just worried here for nothing, and this is fairly straightforward. Yeah, things are looking extremely bad for Russia here. This front has gone pretty much completely unopposed, and Japan has assigned so many tiny little armies to this, all that are kind of pushing. So this entire like Siberia front has pushed extraordinarily quickly. It's basically undefended, and our landing keeps pulling off enormous amounts of pops. We also did make a little bit of a maneuver there where we swapped to doing, I was expecting this war to be a lot harder, and we swapped to field works, planning on just kind of digging in till Spain gets them forced out, but that's seeming to be a bit of a non-factor, and you can see we're doing something a little bit interesting here. So let's take a look at camera and take a look at the innovation cost. The base cost is $12,500 for camera, and we are never going to be able to build a ton of universities to play any sort of catch-up game, so we want to try and be as efficient with our innovation as possible. And to be fair, we are failing in terms of this plan, in terms of execution, because we're supposed to just research to $12,500, but what we have done is we are researching a ton of stuff above $12,500, and then we're leaving it alone, and then eventually, once we nat spread all of the prior techs, all the cost of all of these techs will become $12,500, and we will complete philosophical pragmatism. And again, we're mainly focused on the society tree here because we have no construction anyways. We're focused on philosophical pragmatism, really do want to get this influence and this minus bureaucracy cost, because we can't really build too much bureaucracy stuff, and we're passing poor laws right now to appease people, and so like this is going to get even worse, and we can't build the buildings very quickly. We're also going for human rights. We're going to go for multiculturalism. This might wreck us in terms of a ton of immigrants will come, and we'll have to spend a ton more bureaucracy on incorporated states, but this will allow us to pull people into our block much easier. And then we've also gone for mutual funds here, hoping to kind of juice up the investment pool a little bit, and also commercialized agriculture is generally more supported. No need to go steel frame buildings with our singular construction sector, though. So unfortunately, enforcement on Russia does brick completely our front here that we had with them that was progressing quite nicely. It bricks it because this is considered to be the Bulgaria war front rather than our war front, but we have still, looks like we've still made decent enough progress into the capital here, and we just have to hope that we don't lose this front capability here before our guys get to it. It looks like we don't, and so we will be pushing. Now, of course, these guys don't have it in them to really get anything done over here. So we're just going to abandon this front, and they're going to push out the capital, but we're just going to keep re-landing behind. We are trying to get a naval landing in on Greece as well in order to finish up that war, tidy everything up, although this is much less important now that Russia's out of that war, but we still do want to kind of get things ended there. It will take us a lot longer to full enforce on them in order to liberate Lithuania as well, because we will keep having to re-land them repeatedly, but it looks like this war with Russia is kind of tidied up, and we will get to see the aftermath, which is going to be, immediately our money goes from minus 100k to plus 40k, because the only thing we're really spending money on is military. We're going to kind of rake back a lot of the additional expenses that we had put in. We see Balkanized Eastern Europe here, which is looking pretty nice. Bulgaria, I thought they took this. Well, in any case, Russia has a little bit of an exclave here. Shout out to kind of the normal state of affairs. And we pick up some gold states here on this coast. I think we're going to incorporate them right away because the incorporation cost is not particularly expensive. They take 20 years, and they do have a bunch of gold, and we do want to start getting a lot of migration there if we can. So this is what we have to look forward to. But this is going to be very strong for us. These are kind of, again, the only types of states we really particularly want to take because gold mines are insanely profitable, so the auto queue will be much more encouraged to build them, and when they do build them, we get a bunch of money in minting. So this is going to be kind of what we go for. We're, for example, getting what appears to be a little bit from minting. We're getting 21k from our GDP, and the rest that we're getting from minting is from a variety of states that have gold, and this actually is kind of proportional to our entire income, going to be larger than well, it's kind of larger than normal in some sense. In another sense, our GDP is deflated relative to what it would normally be because we have a lot less buildings in our country and a lot more overseas buildings. We also, in this time, picked up a couple more foreign queues or foreign construction agreements, namely one with Japan, and I think the other one was with Württemberg. So things are progressing, but they're not full filled up. I think in retrospect we should have gone for a lot of the German miners instead, because those guys very consistently do keep in the 10 construction instead of going for some of these kind of bigger-ish powers. I think as a matter of theminess, we're going to go for not rivaling Prussia anymore, because I think we can get them kind of as a great part of Greater Austria here. The HRE is starting to look like more like the HRE again. I think we're going to end the rivalry here, and we are instead going to rival Russia, considering relations have broken down. Really, kind of this episode has been a big breakdown of relations with several great powers, where we are switching to hostile. I don't really think that this is the optimal way to play, but then again, having one construction sector is definitely not the optimal way to play, and this will give us a lot more moves, a lot more money to make moves, money moves, that is, and we can try and get some trade agreements. In particular, we do want some with the newly released countries like Ukraine. Belarus we cannot reach in terms of our market. I think we're going to go for market unification next in our spot, but let's see, we could also get a trade agreement with Württemberg and Parma. These are kind of relatively expensive on the Diplo, and I'm thinking we probably want to use stuff like bankrolls instead, to really focus on expanding our power block. But what we're going to be doing with the block kind of coming up is, so if we have the block just have a singular market, and we do something like pull Poland or Ukraine in, then we can start trading with Belarus. And so we are at a bit of a position where we do have a mandate, and we could go for this, but we're not really nationalizing buildings right now. We could nationalize foreign buildings, but you can't nationalize if you have an investment agreement with people, so it wouldn't be that useful anyways. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to save up till we have 3 mandate, and then we're going to say goodbye to transportation infrastructure, as useful as it maybe is, because this will allow us to trade with more people, and the convoy contribution to market owners also going to be useful to increase trade routes so that we can get more diplomacy through external trade using the influential trade centers. So we found a little bit of acute interaction here. Notice that we cannot do any sort of reduced subject payments here. However, the game doesn't seem to care about which direction these payments are oriented, so if we start bankrolling our subject here in Venezuela, Now we can reduce their subject payments, which is going to decrease the income transfer, so we'll pay them less, and they will get minus liberty desire. Very, very, very cute. We might tell the devs about this one before the patch drops, or we might just keep this one our little secret. Not sure I've ever been so happy to unlock realism, getting a 5% prestige bonus, which is going to be big, big, big for us. Let's see if this this UI is consistently kind of broken down a little bit, but in terms of the prestige game, we are number 4 in the world. This is going to be a kind of big deal for us because we currently don't have the Austrian aristocrats bonus. In retrospect, it was maybe a little bit of a punt to declare rivalry with Russia because of the union. Let's take a quick look at it real quick. But this right here, the Austrian-Russian Association, them being super pissed at us because we made a diplomatic demand, we decreased our relations level, we broke a trade agreement, we decreased our relations level, and we declared them a rival, is making it so that we cannot gain this prestige bonus, which really, really sucks. We would bolster these guys if we were getting the bonus to try and maintain over 20% clout, but since we're not particularly close, we're not going to be bolstering them. But that is a bit of a shame because us not being able to maintain the prestige makes it hard for us to maintain a lot of cohesion because most of this comes from prestige, and we have a really hard time getting prestige from being a goods leader or building a navy because our navy gets deleted by our revs, and also, you know, we have 7.5 construction with which to do anything that we want, and so, I mean, we have a bureaucracy deficit. To be fair, maybe we're just supposed to, like, revoke the poor laws that we passed. This will make some people upset, a little bit upset, but it'll make the aristocracy happier with us, something like this. Man, maybe this is actually the play, because the bureaucracy is really, really painful. Our institutions, we've been keeping them relatively low level. You can see here we're making a play for education, but we might even get rid of law, or we don't want to get rid of law enforcement because the people like that law, so I mean, I guess we're going to keep it in, but this is just very uncomfortable. We might get rid of home affairs. I guess we'll do this no social security. Hopefully it doesn't spawn a movement that's overly big. And we'll look to gain back our bonus. But I think we're going to conclude the episode here. This episode has been a little bit of a ride. We have mainly just kind of made moves into Europe and this sort of thing, looking to kind of expand our influence, really balkanizing everything. And for the sake of flavor, we have also rivaled a bunch of people. Now, to be fair, one of the main benefits of playing nice with the GPs is bankrolls. And bankrolls, as far as I know, are nerfed this patch, but also we don't make a lot through tax anyways, and tax informs how big the bankroll is going to be because we're not constructing anything. So the allure of a bankroll is much less appealing than it was previously, and so maybe this is fine that we have this thing. We really hope that this lobby goes away, and to be fair, there's 2 lobbies that landowners are in, so often you will get an event if they're in 2 lobbies, and so if we can get them out of the Austrian-Russian Association, that would be fantastic. We're canceling out in terms of the approval, but we really, really, really want to make use of getting more approval. Oh, the aristocracy up to +10. Hot damn, that's perfect. So we'll just get rid of one of these, and we will bolster these boyos on up. Wow, they changed the UI. Alright, we'll still bolster them, though. So we couldn't find it in the UI, and looking at the laws, you can these only affect suppression and bolster on political movements. So maybe bolstering IGs is out, which is a bit unfortunate because we would really like to increase these guys' clout, which means that we're going to have to try and find other ways to massage their clout up, probably just going through generals and promoting them, or firing generals that are not of the particular, predisposition we like. And to be fair, we probably have too many generals anyways, and a lot of them are the aristocrats, but if we wanted to fire off, yeah, a lot of them are aristocrats. Holy. This means it's going to cost us quite a bit of bureaucracy in order to offset this, but it's maybe worth the sacrifice. I don't know. We'll have to think about it. So before we go, I just wanted to point out a couple of the metrics we've been tracking. I think we started at, in terms of the GDP of our block, I think we started at maybe like 50 million-ish this episode. We're up to 75 million, passing up the joint front, and now we're just behind the British Empire, so really kind of running away with things. To a large extent, this is due to expanding the bloc. For example, we did add Bulgaria, and so it's not necessarily due to, well, certainly not due to us constructing anything. But this is kind of how things have been going. To be fair, we are getting a little bit of foreign queue construction, but it's really not as much as we would hope. And if we were constructing a lot and spending a lot of government money and weren't just hemorrhaging value into our investment pool that's growing forever and ever and ever, if this were the case, prices would be higher, opportunities for buildings would be more profitable, and countries would actually be building us a lot more. So it's very interesting to see how just not constructing is really, really depressing our economy over the course of time. The second metric that we have been tracking is going to be how many ownership buildings we have, excluding manor houses, because those include a lot of the peasant buildings as well, so we can't really include the subsistence farms. But we started this episode with 189 total, and we are up to what appears to be 285, if my math is correct, but never do math in a video. So we're coming up quite a bit in terms of our ownership, and these pops are really, really, I think a lot of them are in Austria. So if we look in here, we might be able to see a relatively high SOL here in Austria. Our average SOL in Austria is considerably higher than the rest of our country, and it's not due to like extra manufacturing in Austria, because look at this, we have 12 manufacturing centers, two of which are an arts academy, so that doesn't count. And then we only have 5 mines. So almost all of that average getting pulled up is in fact the ownership class, which is a bit interesting. But in either case, we're concluding the episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do the YouTube algorithm thing. If you've been sitting a while, which is a while if you've been watching this in one sitting, maybe get up, stretch the legs, take a walk, this type of thing. And other than that, have a good one.